Good day, everyone. I hope everyone is doing great. Today we'll be looking at the structure of the Java program we wrote last time, as I promised. So, without wasting much time, let's begin. We're going to start with the first line. And on the first line, I'm going to highlight this right here for you to see. Yes, we have the class and a class name. Now, let's talk about the class. The class is a keyword, an inbuilt keyword, and it is used to declare a new class, or it is used to build or create a new class for your Java program. It is case sensitive. When we say case sensitive, meaning that when you change this to uppercase, you're going to get an error by the compiler. The compiler is going to flag an error, causing the program not to run. So the class name is a keyword. It is used to declare or create a class, a new class, or a user-defined class. Thank you. Now, we move on to the next thing. Here we have a class name. The class name here is any name you would prefer. I strongly recommend that you name your classes starting with a capital letter. It is not going to give you a syntax error when you use a smaller letter, but it is mandatory for the class naming or the structure of the class naming. It needs to be part of you so that you understand how Java names their classes and other different objects which are not classes. You understand? So you can change this. This is your own name, but it needs to be a capital letter. Now, this is a curly bracket, as you can see. Now, the curly bracket is for opening a function body or beginning a function body. It terminates here, meaning that when you open a function body, you ensure that you close it after if you open a class body, you ensure that you close it. This is not a function, this is a class. So I can't say you open a function body. Sorry for that, that was a mistake. So this is a class, so you open a class body, you terminate it here with this, sorry. You understand? Now, let's move on to the next line. The next line, we have this here. We're going to talk about what this is. Now, we have public static void main, open bracket, string, args, brackets close. Now, this line is a header for the main function of Java, of every Java program. So this is the main function of the Java program. Now the syntax of the function goes this way. We have an access specifier here. Then we have the return value of the function, which is called void. We'll be explaining all these when we begin with functions, so don't worry if you don't understand. Then we have the function name called main. Then we have the function parameters here. You understand all these keywords when we begin with functions. Now, the public is to declare a function public, meaning that it can be accessed by other functions, inbuilt functions, other classes, and so on. Now, static is to declare a function such that because the function can be accessed by other classes, or other classes can run in this function, or other methods can also run in this function. These methods don't have the power to modify the main function, so the main function needs to be set static. It is mandatory that you set or use the keyword static for this part, or else you are going to be flagged an error by the compiler. So you have to ensure that you use the keyword static. Now, the next thing we have here is void. The void is a return value. Every function returns a value, and sometimes the value can be nothing. And void in English means nothing. Now, void means the main function of Java returns nothing. Now, let's move to main. The main is the name of the main Java function. It is called main. So the function name comes here, and when you want to declare a function, you open the function brackets like this, and inside the function will be your parameters. You set parameters for the function. Now, the parameters could be variables waiting to receive values and use those values. Okay, I hope you understand this line. So recap of the line here, we have public, set the function public so that every class can be run in it. Every other function, inbuilt functions or user defined functions or objects can be used in it. Now, when we say static means even though they could be used in the function, in the main function, they don't have the power to modify the main function. Void means the function returns nothing, the main function returns nothing. Then main is the name of the main function. Then these are the parameters, or this is the parameter in it, as you can see. Now let's move on to the next line. On the next line we have a open curly bracket. Now the open curly bracket in this case is to begin a function body, and in this case, what is the function? The function is the main Java function. So the main Java function beginner starts with this, and then you have some statements here, then you close the main function body with this. Now let's move on to the next line. Here we have system.out.println open brackets hello world. Now let's see what it does. Now this whole line is what is responsible for displaying the hello world string. In our first video that we saw hello world build successful. This is responsible for that. So let's see how it does its work. Now here we have system. The system looks like a class to me, which is true. The system is a class, but it is not your class. It is inbuilt. Java program has a class called system. You see, as I told you in the beginning, that you begin your class names with a capital letter. That is what Java does. So we need to follow Java so that we don't forget. You understand? Now, the system is a class. It's an inbuilt class, so you need to write it as it is. You don't change it. Now the dot is an operator, and that operator is used to access objects that you have created in other classes. So dot operator. So this out here qualifies to be an object. Then another dot, it means the object can also access something. It can also access another object or a function or even another class. So here we have the dot operator accessing println, a function. Now this function is the function that does the main job, that displays the main hello world string. But in order for this function to run, it needs this function is in a class and it needs to be accessed. You understand? For it to be run. And these are the elements that come together to access the println function, the system and the out. And they're accessing the println function to print out the hello world. And in the println function, we have parameters. No, sorry, we have arguments. The argument here is print. Okay, this little example here is going to help us explain what we are talking about when it comes to the system.out.println hello world. So as you can see, we have that line on top, system.out.println hello world. Now
let's break it down. As we have arranged here, we have system. We say system is a constructor. Yeah, a constructor is like a function, only that it has the name of that class. So let's move to our right here. You can see we have the class system here and public system. This is how to declare a constructor of a class. It doesn't have any return value. You just use the access specifier that we were talking about to declare the constructor of a class. This is just a skeleton code. It doesn't do much. So the system you see here is the same thing that is brought here, and you can use a constructor together with the dot operator to access something. And in this case, the constructor with the dot operator is accessing an object, and this object could be in another class. You understand? This object could be this object is an instance of another class. As we were talking about, we said objects are instances of classes. So when a programmer creates a class, he or she creates an instance of that class to be able to use that class. So this is an instance of a particular class. You don't need to know the type of class, just know that it's an instance of a class. So this is an object. So that's what you have here. It says object of a class. Now let's move to the last one. We say print line. Print line is a function. We will talk about the characteristics of a function when we move forward in this journey. It says function of a class, as you can see here. So let's move into the system. So assuming that the print line was a function of the system class, it will look something like this. Someone might ask, why did I name it void, or why should it return nothing? How did I know that it returns nothing? Yes, it returns nothing because looking at this line here, you can judge that the system.out.println the print line works on its own. Meaning that we don't equate it to any value. You see, when a function returns a value, there should be a variable that will receive that value. But in this case, there is no variable receiving the value, meaning that it can stand on its own. And we conclude that it returns nothing. As you can see, we also have another example that tries to explain the function of the print line. The function of the print line is to transfer everything that you put into the bracket right here to the terminal where it is displayed. As simple as that. And another thing it does is because it has an end of line, anything that comes again with print line will follow up right here in the terminal. I hope it is understood. So simply transfers whatever is here to the terminal. So that is the function of the print line.
This is the end of this video. I hope you understood this very well, and we'll be continuing in the next video. We'll be looking at other topics.